I come on here and, I usually disagree with a lot of different people in the national media. So, I'm always used to giving my opinion. And my opinion as a person who's more located in a central region on a lower level, and I'm more involved with local stories that involve like the Cleveland sports scene and more local and generalized stories that affect the Browns or the local teams that I deal with. I find more and more that I'm starting to gravitate towards just, giving my opinion on some of the larger scale questions and some of the larger scale stories that I see throughout the sporting world. And so, as I've been looking at those, man, I just had the urge and the thought process to start doing some critiques and just basically going through some of the stories that I see on some of the shows that I watch, whether it be Colin Cowherd, whether it be First Things First, whether it be First Take or Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp and so forth. I watch those shows not only to look and formulate and see what other people are thinking about around the country, but to also formulate ideas as to what topics are moving people, what topics people are saying, and just to see what the pulse is of a lot of people outside of Cleveland. One thing that I always want to do is I want to strive to basically give you information and give my opinion and be well rounded in terms of not just being in a bunker, not being in a tunnel, in a silo, and just in an echo chamber and only hearing things that pertain to me, only seeing things in a certain way that pertain to me. And so I do go out and I do check out some of the national stuff. Sometimes I think they're right. Sometimes I think more than not they're wrong about certain things. But in this case, this specific scenario, I actually think that Stephen A. Smith got something right in terms of this story. And that brings me to, the thesis of what this story is going to be. And it's about Brett Favre. Now, let me put this right now. Let me throw this out as a disclaimer. I really love the way Brett Favre played the game. I like the, just enthusiasm he had for the game. I was a big fan of his, still is a big fan of what he brought to the game. He played the game in a way that was with reckless abandon, but he played the game that was more of a happy tone, a tone that says, I could throw any football and I could squeeze it in any tight window. I got confidence in my arm. I have confidence in my skills and ability, and that led him to be able to throw the ball and get so many huge plays out of his body because he really thought and he knew that he was never dead. He was never down. And so Brett Favre inspired people like Baker Mayfield. He inspired people like Michael Vick. He inspired people and quarterbacks, even a guy like in college like Johnny Manziel, who want to extend plays, who can use their body and create more avenues to get plays off. So he was a pioneer when it came to that. And people around the NFL loved him for that play. I've never been one to criticize him when there was the issues with him and the reporters, and there was allegedly this sexual harassment with some other people. There was something, things talked about with painkillers, and to me, that's not anything that I'm concentrating on. Those are personal things. Those are in his past. If you're struggling with drug addiction, there's millions of people who struggle with that. He settled the sexual assault thing. I don't have a problem with that. They've settled that. That's been long. That's water under the bridge. But for me, the thing that hits me tough is this. Brett Favre, is coming out now. And he's come out within the last couple of weeks with two specific statements that goes to highlight why I'm so adamant against the premise of politics in sports. And I've been saying for years, since I've been on the radio, I fought so hard against people telling me, hey, you can't talk about politics. You can't talk about that. You can't talk about politics. Politics is a faux pas. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Politics has always been a part of the NFL. Politics is the NFL. I would argue politics is 75% of what the NFL does. So when people tell you that you can't talk about politics, number one, the NFL is already doing this stuff. What they really mean is they don't agree with what you're saying and they only like their political views. It's okay to express their political views, but yours don't count. I don't want to hear your political view. In the case of Brett Favre, this goes exactly to show why that statement is hypocritical and it's borderline racist. You just got to call a spade a spade. Brett Favre 1 week says, I don't like people protesting. When I want to watch a game, I want to see people play. I want to see people do their thing. I want to see people score touchdowns. I think that the league and everybody is suffering because people are making political statements and people just don't want to see that. They want to tune in and watch the game. Okay. So a lot of people hold that same sentiment. There's been people who've held that sentiment that said when Colin Kaepernick kneeled, they felt it was a crazy thing. They felt it was, political. They don't want to see that. However, people don't talk without doing their homework. Let me ask you a question. Brett Favre didn't have a problem when he won the Super Bowl and he went to the White House. When you went to the White House and you won the championship, you was front row and center, hands crossed, chilling with Reggie White. You had no problems with that, Brett, at all. I don't understand how it can't get more political than that. You had one of the biggest achievements of your life, and you didn't turn down the opportunity to go to the White House. That's purely political. What does the White House trip to go meet the president have to do with anything you've done on the field? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad against it. There's nothing wrong with going to the White House. There's nothing wrong with you showing up. And because the President of the United States shows you love and says, come on out here and we're going to acknowledge you in front of the whole world. There's nothing wrong with that. But you didn't have a problem with that because that was something that helped you. It made you feel good. And that worked out well for you. But the second people start talking about uncomfortable stuff that you can't identify with, police brutality, voting laws for African Americans, discrimination, unequal pay, women's rights, Asian rights. Those are things you don't know how. You live in a predominantly white society in Mississippi. You can't understand that. So now you say, well, I just wish that people would just, I just want to watch the games. No, you can't have it both ways, Brett. Because not only did you say that, 2 days later, a couple days later, you get on your podcast and you say, well, that police officer, I really don't think he meant to kill George Floyd. I mean, I get that fact that he did a bad thing, but I don't believe he meant to do that. I don't think he wanted to kill him. See, Brett, this is our problem. This is the crux of the issue. Not only are you not informed, because you obviously didn't look at the trial. You obviously didn't see forensic evidence. You obviously didn't see witness after witness after witness after witness, not only from his police force. People who do this for a living got up and saying the cause of death was this man with his knee on that guy's neck. And he was already dead and he still kept his knee on his neck. But you come out and you say, well, I thought he would. I didn't think he really meant it. But that's not even the point of this blog. The point of this blog is the fact that you are so far in the backwoods and don't understand how life works. You just contradicted what you just said a week later, less than a week later. If you're going to take the stance, if you're taking the point of view that people should stay out of politics and people should just chill out and people should just let's get to the sports, then why are you sitting here talking about political things? Last time I checked, the same things you mad about Kaepernick about, or the same things that you talk about players shouldn't be talking about as far as police brutality and all this other good stuff, you're commenting on that. You're throwing your opinion on it. So it's good for you to comment on the situation, but nobody else can comment on it because you don't want to hear it. No, what you're saying is my opinion counts and they don't. What you're saying is my opinion rings clear, theirs don't. What you're saying is I don't agree with what they're saying. I don't want to be burdened with the fact that I got to acknowledge what they're saying or even contemplate what they're saying has any merit or truth. I would just rather live in my, castle over here and deal with nothingness. I just want to put my hands over my eyes and close my eyes and go to sleep and act like nothing's happened. But then 2 seconds later, you go and comment on it. See, that's the point. That's the hypocrisy of it all. And let's be clear. Let's break this down once and for all. Because I don't think people do a good enough job of messaging this talking point. And let's see if we can get rid of this talking point once and for all. See if we can debunk this. Politics, for all of you people that don't understand what politics stand for, the word politics has nothing to do with the way and the context that you're using it. Politics, political nature, has to do with the way the government is run, policy, fiscal policy, foreign policy. What are you laws? What are you passing? What bills are being presented in places? Senators, congressmen, infrastructure. What are you doing? How the country is run? What is our policy towards North Korea? What is our foreign policy? What about tariffs? What are we going to do? What is the tax rate? What kind of tax break are we going to have? What is our immigration policy? Those are all things that have to do with politics, right? But everybody is running around here using politics as a catchphrase for anything that they don't like that's uncomfortable. And unfortunately now, race and any claims of racism has gone under the whole blanket of politics. No. No. That's not it. That's not political nature. That's as simple as it right or wrong. It's as simple as that's a crime and not a crime. What Chauvin did is not politics. He didn't sign no bills. He didn't run for Congress. He's not a diplomat. He's done nothing in terms of edifying, moving forward, and doing anything with our government and our infrastructure in terms of being a real politician. Politics has nothing to do with whether or not a cop killed a black person. Politics have nothing to do with whether or not people are upset that people are being racially discriminated against. That has nothing to do with politics. When you learned about slavery in school, did you learn about slavery and then go talk about talk about the state capitals? No. Did you learn about the legislative, executive, and judicial branch and then go learn about migration from Africa? No. History and social studies are two different disciplines. So if you're trying to jumble and mix all these different things in just so you can say it's political and you don't have to deal with it, it's not working. It's not working. And I don't understand why people believe that you should be somehow exempt from the perils of the world. I don't want to hear it. I just would rather watch the game. Listen, man, you're grown. Here's half the reason, and I'm going to be clear. Here's half the reason I've already come up with in my mind. I may not ever reach the heights that I want to reach. I may not ever get to a place where I want to be as some mega star or some mega sports guy. I may never reach that. And I may never reach it because, frankly, I don't do enough fluff stuff. Frankly, I don't do enough empty rhetoric stories. Frankly, I tell the truth too much. It's uncomfortable to people. I tell the truth whether or not it's for my gain or it doesn't fit the narrative, right? There's some things I can say and I'm like, wow, that fits the narrative. And some things don't fit the narrative. I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, the Chauvin thing, that's a blanket statement for everybody. Because as I tweeted earlier, the situation that happened in Columbus with the knife, that's different. That's completely different. I took heat from that on Twitter because I said it was different. It is different. If you're a 16-year-old individual and you got a knife in your hand and you see the cops pulling up, you might want to put that down, given our climate. Given our climate, and you understand if the cops pull up on you and you got a weapon anywhere, that's a lack of awareness. And on top of it, this person was in the middle of trying to harm someone. If you think the cops are not going to do something and you are in the middle of raising a knife on somebody, that's a problem. No matter how tragic that is, no matter how tragic that is, you can't erase the fact that that cop was not going to let that girl stab that person. That's the reality of it. That's just the reality of it. They were not going to let that girl stab that person. And I got to be 100 across the board on everything. For me, I'm looking at these cases and I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at everything through a fair lens. But when you look at this situation with Brett Favre, this is a case, and it's a very easy case. It's just blatant. You know, for me, I look at it like this. I take offense to the words stick to sports at the highest levels. You know why? I take that sentence at the highest levels. Because you know what? That denotes that you feel like, A, I'm uneducated and I'm uninformed about these topics, and I don't have the cachet, the knowledge, the research, the mental capacity to understand, to move in these circles, to understand, to formulate a good opinion about why is it I feel this way. That's one. Two, why is it that you feel like, A, talking heads on other programs have the right and responsibility that they can just talk about what they want to, but not you? Oh, let those guys talk about it all day. Leave that to them. But you stay over here and talk about basketball. No, I will not do any such thing. And three, it ignores the fact that people have been protesting and saying all kind of and protesting in sports since the beginning of time. Where do you think and why do you think Jesse Owens is so powerful? Why do you think the people, the visions of people at the Olympics with the black fist up, why do you think that's so powerful? Jackie Robinson's story is told. Why do you think we have that day? Because it was a systematic approach to breaking barriers down. And if he just shut up and swing a bat, we would never have an opportunity. Never. Never. These pioneers are important. Pioneers that stood up and said, no, Muhammad Ali, I'm going to go to jail. I'm not going over there. People that fought, that spoke out. These things have been happening in our country for decades. So now, all of a sudden, a few people that have Johnny come lately that comes around and tries to start a trend where that's not fashionable. Are you crazy? You think because you say you don't want to hear it? This has been going on in this country for 60 years. Without Rosa Parks, we still be in the back of the bus. It took people speaking about certain things for things to change. And I'm sure there were people in the 60s and 70s that didn't really like that either. I'm sure there were people saying, I just shut up and dribble then. But those people aren't heard in history. Those nameless faces aren't in history. Those nameless faces go down in history on the wrong side of history. We remember the names of Mandela and people that stood up. We remember those names. And what I'm saying to people like Brett Favre is this. Don't be on the wrong side of history. Don't do it. Don't do it, man. I know for a fact, Brett, and let me talk to you real quick. And I hope everybody, if you got to this point in this, I hope everybody, if you got to this point, I hope you got here and you got through that part to get to the good part and the part that I really need you to hear. Listen, Brett, I know that you come from a whole different place that we come from. I understand that I know for a fact you personally would not do some of the things that these guys did. I've been in the football locker room just like you have. I've been around all different races, people, color, shapes, sizes. I've been on those lines. I've been running gassers. I've been out here doing that stuff with my teammates. I've been doing all those things shoulder to shoulder, side by side with my teammates. And I consider those people brothers, and I know you do too. I know you do. But come on, Brett. You're better than that. You're better than that. You understand, and you're a quarterback and you're a leader. You understand there's more than meets the eye. You understand. Get with some of your people. You was with Reggie White. You was with Reggie White. You know what kind of man Reggie White was. You knew what kind of, and you were pivotal in getting Reggie White, the late great Reggie White, the minister, the pastor Reggie White. Go talk to his widow. Go talk to him and go talk to her and see what she's feeling right now. See her feelings. Get her feelings. Because right now you off base. You off base, bro. You off base. We're not saying you a bad person. And this goes to every single person that I'm talking to that happens to be white. So what Stephen A. Smith said, this is absolutely facts. We're not saying that every single white person is a drug dealer, a racist. Just the same way when you got these gangs in Chicago. When white people say, man, these gangs is out, black people is out of control in Chicago, I don't take offense to that. You know why? I don't live in Chicago. I ain't never been to Chicago. I don't own no guns. I don't plan on shooting nobody. I don't identify with that. It don't move me because I'm rooted in who I am and understand fully who I am as a person and what I bring to this society. So as white people, we talking about these people. If you over here and you know what you stand for, you know your content and character, you don't got to defend these people. That ain't your identity. You don't have to cover for them. When Chauvin goes to jail, that ain't you. You don't have to minimize their impact. You don't have to minimize what they're doing because you think we're going to come after you next. No, that's not the case. We could walk and chew gum at the same time. So all I'm urging you, Brett, is to do a little soul searching, man. Ask yourself, am I isolated right now? Am I being inclusive right now? Am I trying to put myself in other people's shoes right now? Because it's important that you go outside of your comfort zone. Because when you get money and you get fame and you get both of them at the same time, as we get older, we have a choice of who we conglomerate with. We have a choice to be only around one group of people. If you want to, when you get older, you ain't got to do none of that. You ain't got to go around nobody else that don't look like you, pray like you, drink the same alcohol as you, watch the same games, root for the same teams, wear the same clothes, got the same money, go to the same vacation spots. You don't have to anymore. This ain't elementary school. When you get older, you can basically be at the same place where all people think like you. That's not healthy because you have no perspective. And if you don't have perspective, you say things like that. You say things like, I just want to watch the game, but then 2 seconds later you say, oh, well, I think about this, and that. You basically saying, I'm immune to any sort of rules. I'm immune to the rules I place on you. I only believe in rules for one group of people. And that is what Colin Kaepernick was trying to tell you. It's one set of rules for one group of people and a set of rules for another group of people. And in your last week, you just validated that by your statements and actions. So at the end of the day, I make my choices wisely about race and how to go about it and identifying it. The reality of it is, there's a lot of group of people out there that ain't never gonna change. They just gonna be the same way they are. They gonna always be that way. It's always gonna be us versus them, right? It's always gonna be people with false equivalencies, right? There's always going to be people who give up false equivalencies and say, well, it's both sides. Well, it's both sides. Well, it's both sides. No, listen. No, it's not. It's both sides. Unless you get a backbone and unless we able to call a spade, unless we able to call individuals out instead of blanket statements, that individual, don't give me something you did. Give me a name. Give me a name. Don't give me Republicans and Democrats. Give me a name. My psychology teacher said, blanket statements cover your true meaning. Give me a name of who you're talking about. Don't tell me Democrats and Republicans both do it. Give me a name. Because that means you've done your research. That means you've learned. That means you know exactly who you're talking about. But when you give me blanket statements, I can't tell if you actually even looked up the data. You did what you needed to do. Blanket statements. At the end of the day, I hope that people see and understand that the word politics is trying to take on a new word or a new catchphrase that doesn't mean what it says it means. And at the end of the day, I encourage everybody, no matter what it is, to speak your piece. As long as you're doing it thoughtfully, as long as you're doing it accurately, and as long as you're doing it without malice and without cruel intent, speak your mind. Don't let nobody tell you what you can talk about. Nobody tell you, shame you into telling you them. That is on them. That is on them. And if you lose followers, so be it. If you lose people, so be it. If you lose people want to, I'm not going to listen anyway. So be it. It is what it is. Because at the end of the day, those aren't the type of people you want to support you anyway. You don't want nobody fair weather supporting you for your opinion. And you don't want nobody supporting you for not standing with you on issues that are cut dry and clear. Right and wrong don't go under political statements. Right and wrong go under humanity. It goes under who you are as a person, and it goes under integrity. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 5,000 here, man. I want to try to get to 5,000. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it. It's your boy G Bush. It's a barbershop. We'll catch you on the flip side.